Usually you are likely to expect certain things to happen in life. If an unexpected thing also happens, that's when you instantly recognize maybe the divine has better things in his store for me, and this is a lesson teaching. Though at this moment I may not feel it pleasant, there is definitely something for me to learn. So that's how we went with our master. Though at that moment it could have been painful, his shouting or his thing. And at least a couple of times I remember he told, take my scoldings, then the world will not put its pointing finger to you. Means you will not be able to find any faults with you. Will make you perfect type. So that type of thinking will be helpful to recognize the test, and you will feel the presence of the master also in some form or other. He meant just be normal in this world, outside with your body. Simply inside, your consciousness, your mentally, you need to be silent. Just like Ramana also said, even if a yogi is gossiping a lot, he is the ever silent one. You would see a yogi as a normal person, eating two vadas, having a cup of tea. So that's what happens. But what he is doing inside is important. When you watch your own consciousness, you might be sitting and closing the eyes, but inside what your consciousness is doing is more important. For people might, oh, Clifford is into deep meditation, but it may not be actually inside. It might be pricking somewhere, something chatterbox. So that's what Vasistha meant. Do not seek non-action. Simply just by not doing anything itself doesn't mean that that person is self-realized. And simply if he is doing a normal thing doesn't mean that he is not self-realized. Precisely this is what he meant. That's why after all the days of discourse, in the end he tells Sri Rama, all these days whatever I was discoursing is also totally false. Readers would be bewildered for a while. He was telling such great truth and explaining everything. So that was for this reason that just by reading or listening or understanding, he should not become non-active in any way, should be normal. Because it is the mind which needs to be quiet all the time. So Ambaji might be preparing 20 cups of tea, her mind might be quiet. You never know. Like that, example, something like that. See, that is to encourage what already human form you have got. From here, directly you can merge with the Parabrahman. You don't have to become an angel or any other god forms that you all worship. They are all simply manifested things. Just to tell that in this form, you can achieve the self-realization. In fact, this doesn't seems to have any proper meaning at all. For a person who is in Bhakti Marga, say whichever form that person would have chosen, that is God for him. Whether Krishna, Rama, Shiva, anything. And they need not be in human form also. They are already merged. So that is the truth actually. They are one with the divinity. The Parabrahman is the word used for the ultimate truth. To remove any such confusion that there are no differences, they are all one. So this thing could have been told to Rama that if you practice quietness, means the same thing will be in all those gods, whether it is Shiva or Krishna or any or Devi, this same silence that Sri Rama achieved. So that was how Vasishtha also tells, when a person is self-realized, he becomes puja yogya. It's worthy to be worshipped because his consciousness is merged with the self and totally quiet. So that all could be meaning. Shiva means your existence in total thoughtlessness state. Because the Sanskrit word used is nishcheshtit. Cheshta is the mind wavering and spinning. Roughly that's what the meaning is. So when it is into imagination, so it's wavering and doing its chesta, it is not quiet. So when it is quiet, that is Shiva. So that's all pervaded simply. So when your mind becomes quiet, you become one with Shiva. That's why the trinities of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Shiva is recognized as the withdrawal back into the self. Brahma is the one who creates, the creating concept. Vishnu sustains that created one. Like your mind imagines, that is Brahma. But your mind gets involved with the thing that you would have created, and then you would like to sustain that story. You prolong that story, you build up frame and knit and everything. When you are totally tired, you simply become quiet, withdrawn. That is Shiva concept. So that's how these things have been explained. To rise above dualities is the meaning. In this world, always one is important because of the other. If one thing is shown, a person may imagine the other. For example, like in Buddha, kept one of the students asked, does God exist? He kept quiet, he didn't answer anything. Then that student asked, does it mean that he doesn't exist? And Buddha said, when did I say so? I didn't say anything, I'm just quiet. You are quiet, that's why that means he imagined to be the opposite. So you ask me, do you want to eat? I keep quiet. Does it mean that you don't want to eat? Maybe I don't mean either. I just want to be keeping quiet, that quietness, that silence, that is the nature of the Parabrahman, the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth exists in itself. This is what Vasishtha also talks in Yoga Vasishtha. So imagine that the space is the only thing which has this quality of existing in itself. It doesn't need anything else for existence. So that's how it goes. Finally, advice is you drop all ideas and just become quiet. The concept here is important of your attitude. If you care for that dog, you try to organize somebody to care for that dog. At least you will have satisfaction that that dog is in safe hands as long as it is alive. It was yours. And then you come here. That is one thing. Another thing, I am not going to bother about this dog, let it die or let it anything happen. That attitude is wrong. That amounts to selfishness and carelessness and not recognizing the faithfulness of the thing. With Yudhishthira also, the concept is of the dog going along with him is the one's own karma. That becomes the dharma actually. They have tried to tell that is the only thing which will go with everybody, any soul. When you drop the body, nothing else will go. No relationship, no amount of power, health, wealth, nothing will go. only whatever karma you have acquired in the mind, that will go. That was the dharma that Yudhishthira was maintaining. So he didn't want to give it up. This has been with me all along, which protected me. So that was a test for him. So if that is asked, would you sacrifice that also if you want to come or not? Then he stood by that one. That is the concept they have explained. So for your dog, I have already told what you have to do. Your attitude is important. Sometimes this happens in life. If there was nobody to take care of the dog, you should have stayed back. You couldn't have abandoned that unattended like an orphan. That was not proper. But you managed to find somebody to take care of that. So that's why now you don't have to worry in the mind, don't feel guilty. You have organized. So thanks to technological things today, you are able to get the picture of the dog and sitting here. You can even have a video call. You can call your dog, something is possible. So finally, your mind is much more important. Don't feel guilty for anything. You have done your best. You have to take care of the things. Yeah, definitely. You see, technically, scientifically, what happens? When death happens, the brain dies, but the mind gets detached from the brain. The mind has acquired attitude of habits. Suppose you were doing sadhana and for some reason death happens. So then the mind would have acquired all such habits of satsanga, like listening to a master teaching and your own practice as. So that the attitude is there, that forms the intensity of thoughts. So based on that it attains the next incarnation. So from childhood itself you will have more inclination and you will be blessed to have, first thing is the parents who can give you such samskaras, and the surroundings also, plus your own habits of observation, understanding, all these capacities will be there. So that thus it will continue. Say if we have had that inclination in childhood itself, when I felt after listening to Bhaja Govindam song at the age of 8, and then I was always puzzled with the happiness that must be there all 24 hours, 12 months. That means in our previous lives we must have been trying definitely. So that continues. It's like putting into a fixed deposit, never go waste it. The consciousness which is now mind in you, in quick succession these reactions happen. It recognizes an existence, then analyzes good or bad, mine or not mine, I did or I did not do, and in that process it makes a judgment. This is it, I did it. Then that's what is absorbed as an imprint. Usually what we call it as subconscious state. So that will sit in your mind as an acquired habits of the mind. So all these things you might forget and you will not even know. That's why when you sit for meditation, thousands of torturing thoughts might come up. You would even wonder, when did I imagine all these things? Why is it all coming? That is coming from time immemorial. So many lives would have passed by. So the mind has acquired such habits. That's what I usually call as acquired habits of the mind. This is what you need to get rid of in this life, that you have been given an opportunity to discriminate, to think and understand, come to a master, understand the teaching, and then you have got the technique to do sadhana. So by watching, so you can erase all such things slowly. Thus what happens when one becomes a yogi, he would have stopped the future. Whatever the past is there, that will happen, but the time will pass by without you noticing much of it, anything, because your consciousness is merged with the divinity. It will be attentive to the divine or your own sadhana. So this is how the karma also comes, Karma is acquired, and this is how one needs to get rid of the karma also through practice. That's why spiritual satsangas have been told. Bhakti Marga, Jnana Marga, Dhyana Marga, everything has been told that you can either make the mind single pointed so that it can give up millions of thoughts and hold on to one single thought of God's imagination, or if it can become totally silent, it goes introvert and merges. That's why I always tell this meditation technique taught to my Guru by Lord Shiva and who gave us is one of the highest methods of sadhanas practiced since ancient types of Rigveda. Silent watching. It's like getting recruited as an officer. So your mind becomes quiet without any external anchor and goes introvert and merges with the self. Other than that, Bhakti Margas, when you choose a forum, when you try to worship, so your mind becomes single pointed, slowly, sincerely. If you really become devoted to that forum, forgetting everything else, slowly it will make you forget. So then one time the same divine will help you to drink that, means get rid of that forum also, and it merges with the self. This is the process. ये भगवान का, परमात्मा का साकार रूप से आरंभ करके साधना करते 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 उस हाइट में जब रीच करके तब मर्ज होता है, तब निराकार में मर्ज हो जाता है, फिर साकार निराकार दोनों से परे हो जाता है। वो है चीज़, परमात्मा है। क्योंकि आकाश का तत्व ही ऐसा है। आप आकाश को, स्पेस को देखें, वो निराकार भी नहीं, साकार भी नहीं। जैसे हम बोलते हैं, आई विल कम बैक विथ इंग्लिश प्लीज़, शी वांटेड इट इन हिंदी, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन। एक कमरा खाली है भी बोल सकते हैं आकाश तत्व से, या फिर ये आकाश तत्व से भरा हुआ भी बोल सकते हैं। इसलिए अब्सोल्यूट इज़ ज़ीरो, ज़ीरो इज़ अब्सोल्यूट। तो इस तरह राम साकार भी है, निराकार भी है और दोनों से परे भी है। आप कितने अपने आप को एलिवेट कर सकते हैं, उसके ऊपर है। ये हमने राम माना, क्या हम जीवन भर इसी को पकड़ के रखेंगे, यही राम है, इसके सिवा और कहीं है ही नहीं, ये सब राम नहीं है, तो हम कूप मंडूक की तरह यहीं पर रह जाएंगे। नहीं है तो अरे ये भी राम है, अरे ये भी तो राम है, सारे ये राम है, तो तब वो निराकार में, ब्रह्म में स्थित होने का साध्यता बन जाती है भक्ति मार्ग में। ये है मतलब। शी वांटेड टू नो दैट यूजुअली इन द फॉर्म वर्शिप, लाइक particularly Rama in Indian culture, कि whether it is the form or the formlessness, what it is chanted even when the body is given up also. So other people all chant कि that is the ultimate truth. What is the truth? So I told कि it is the beginning of Bhakti Marga is always with a form. This is told, idol is kept. We tell कि this is Swamiji's idol, this is God. Like that, then you start worshipping. If you try to find, and you find in your consciousness the same divinity everywhere, then you win. Otherwise, you can simply keep God into one box and keep claiming my God is only in this box and nowhere else. So that is simply a mean mentality. You won't reach anywhere. Otherwise, the same sakar form and the formlessness, and you go beyond both form and formlessness, become one with the ultimate truth, giving up all names and all forms and all ideas, everything dropping. That's what I try to make her understand. When mind has picked up something and it behaves in that way, so we should not claim that as natural. It is the habitual thing. The natural is when it becomes quiet. वो शांत और चुप होना ही स्वाभाविक है, उसका स्वभाव। वो अपने स्वभाव से अतिरिक्त हुआ है हर मनुष्य में मन के रूप में आकर के। तो उस अभ्यास को रोकने के लिए ही साधना, चाहे आप साकार का नाम मंत्र भी ले लो, मंत्र लेके हजारों लाखों विचारों से दूर हो करके एक ही विचार से, अपना भगवान का उस नाम का विचार से ही लगे रहो, तो वो भी आपको उस हाइट तक पहुंचा देता है एक टाइम में। ये है। हर व्यक्ति का अपना प्रारब्ध होता है। मानो कि अगर आप हमें दुख दिया, इसका ये मतलब है कि हमारे में कमजोरी है अभी, इसलिए मैं दुखी हो रहा हूँ आपकी वजह से, पर सोच रहा हूँ आपकी वजह से नहीं, मुझ में कमी है इसलिए मैं दुखी हूँ। अगर वो कमी नहीं है तो कोई भी हमें ना सुखी कर सकता है ना दुखी कर सकता है। यही है, आत्मा ही आत्मा का मित्र है, आत्मा ही आत्मा का शत्रु है, भगवद गीता जो कहती है।
You know, just now Baba has said a big, beautiful thing, a mantra to her. She asked that when one person troubles another person, is this because of the karmic thing? You know, the one is giving a trouble and another one is receiving a trouble. So whose karma is it is? So Baba said that the person who is getting disturbed is weak. Otherwise, no one can give you trouble, no one can give you happiness, and no one can give you unhappiness. So the person who thinks I'm unhappy has to bring strength in themselves, you know, have to strengthen themselves, going on to the path of the spirituality by the spiritual practice, and make themselves strong that no one on earth can trouble you, nothing can trouble you. Your mind be peaceful all the time in all the situation. And that's where Baba has quoted a shloka from the Bhagavad Gita that Atman means the self is the enemy. You are the friend of yourself, and you can be the worst enemy for yourself. So make yourself strong by the spiritual practice, so no one can trouble you and you become the best friend for yourself. Otherwise your own thoughts can become your biggest enemy.
You see, there is a thin edge of difference. You are quiet actually first, but if somebody is troubled, you have the capacity to attend to that person if necessary. That's what in Yoga Vasistha only Vasistha talks. A yogi appears to be indifferent to the world, but he is equally compassionate. If somebody is troubled, they come and pray to a yogi. He will pray for them, he will bless them. So like that any person can be. The indifference is, I am quiet, that person is troubled, I don't have to bother. That is indifference. Simply by being quiet, you have to practice that under all circumstances, even when so many are bothered, that you don't get affected, but you can try to help the other. This is what we teach. Just by worrying, you cannot help anybody. So you have to practice to stop worrying. Then whatever is possible, you can always help. No, actually it was not a new. As I told, same subject I was gaining by grace of Swamiji before tapas. The same thing was made me to attend a stronger, a bigger and higher workshop. If it was like a mental projection was happening, then I got a chance to see the manifested universe and the manifested universe disappearing. So that type of experience happened. Same thing enhanced in a higher class. As I told in the morning also, so I might have been in a beginning of the university or a high school, then I got to see the university's height in the final. Right?
It's like somebody putting an experiment, in a laboratory. You're putting an experiment and you're spending your years in the lab to achieve a result, like a formula or something, and 20 years you're experiencing, doing the efforts and gaining the knowledge, and then one day suddenly you realize this is what it is, this is what I was trying to create. But here it's not the creation, it's not something which Baba had to create mentally. It was something which he was practicing and became one with it. He became that. Understand? It's not something he achieved or he got it from somewhere outside. He was practicing something, and that one day become, like one. The second that the duality that day ends. When he went into the tapas, the duality of I and that came to oneness, and it became one of the ever witnessed one.
Final chapter of teaching.
And close. And chapter close for this life.
A little bit of consciousness is in touch with the brain. So that ego is attachment to my guru and carry on his mission. So that enables us to keep the body, otherwise the body gets dropped if there is no other attachment. So that makes anybody who can come to this path to teach them, to answer them, is very easy. It happens because that much of amount of silence needs to be practiced, depending on the mind. How much silent that it can remain, how much it absorbs from the world, how much active that you are going to be in the world, depending on that only. If, say, you practice 1 hour meditation, also your active participation in the world is less. Just for example. So then the mind's absorption of imprints also will be less. Like for example, I tell, when we were small kids, our parents had very less challenge because we simply listened to them. We never argued with them, never tried to seek any explanations. There was no need because we had such a reverence for them. That was important for us. Not like today. And also in our times, even a telephone was a luxury, television we never got to see. So thus our minds got very less exposed to the outside world during until high school days also. Hardly we knew anything of the world. At the age of 20, when I came to ashram, I did not know anything of the world. That never had embedded within me. So the meditation became very easy, keeping the mind quiet became very easy. So based on that, you will be able to achieve self-realization, quietness. Before death happens to this body, so how much you are able to keep your mind quiet, both has to go together. Either more meditation, or if less meditation, while you are active also, your activity should be minimum to the need to sustain your life. You may need to earn some livelihood, something like that, without going for a very greedy thing. You just work for your need. If you can keep like that, you will still win. See, most of the time it's mechanically, but this is a highly skilled thing. I keep practicing. Like you all might struggle to bring in the mind, make it quiet. For me, if I have to act upon, I have to bring it upwards to the level of brain to deal with a situation, to talk about certain things. So that's why most of the time I would depend on somebody loyal to me who would advise me in the right sense what's happening actually. Sometimes I might be somewhere, I might simply tell yes, and that may not be proper actually. Somebody needs to alert me, why are you telling yes, that's not the thing. Then I might realize that this happened. But this thing I don't allow people to know, otherwise they might take me granted. They try to write to me to write an S. They first try to approach Ambaji, can we come and participate for one day in this retreat? If they don't get response, they know that I am weak in this, they will simply write to me. Okay, can we come, Babaji? I will say yes. Then they will tell, Babaji has told yes that I am going to come. They will overrule everybody else. So that's what we have learned now. And I have to tell them, wait, I need to consult my people who are dealing with this situation. What is the situation? Is there any more place to admit anybody? Is there any room available? All these things. So this is a different skill, means finally going to Samadhi is a different skill. Bringing it back to the brain's level is altogether a different skill. That's why I would say all self-realized people need not become very highly skilled teachers. If you observe in the history, few like Adi Shankara or Buddha, Sri Krishna, they have become very highly skilled teachers also, apart from becoming self-realized. So that's what I always thought that we would learn. So we will learn to answer the questions. The question answering becomes spontaneous for me. If a question is asked, I don't know, spontaneously the answer comes. Means I don't need any moment of time to think about the question, what it is that has been asked and what should be the answer. I don't plan like that. I cannot. That's why if somebody gives a public program and asks me to give a lecture for 1 hour, I will be a bit miserable. It's difficult for me to imagine and give a talk of what I have to. So, but this question answer is simply easy. I don't know how it happens. It's flow. Any question anybody asks, immediately spontaneously it comes. So, something like that. I keep practicing. I have practiced. But the initial years was much more difficult. I used to be dazed. Anybody invited or asked me, we want to do a mission, we want to register your mission. And then Ambaji tried to talk to me. What is happening outside your room, you don't realize, Babaji, you are just here and they are trying to exploit you and they are trying to send away who are really attached to you, who are really devoted to you and who are really spiritual. These things she would observe and tell. So for that reason, they started disliking her. Okay, if we can get rid of Ambaji, that is the truth. No, that is the answer for the question, yes, what they are talking.
You don't have to bring that. Another thing is that, sorry I'm overtaking Babaji, but here watching Baba, for so many years, his mental state is very, very peculiar. A common person cannot understand how, like an ordinary person, we talk and the thing get registered immediately on our head. And according to that, like Baba always says, we make decisions and then we go into the actions. Here it's totally opposite. Things doesn't stay here. It comes, information comes, he reacts and that's it. He may not remember next day or a following day that what he said to Zen and what he would have said to Bruce or so it just gets wiped out. So every time when I am with him, for every single thing I have to be watchful over every single thing. Like a hawk, I'm always watchful that this is not right for you. This is good for you. This person is not good for the mission. This person is good for this person taking advantage. Means we are also in the world, even dealing with the small things with Baba, there is no decision actually. He doesn't make any decision. Like a common person, we judge things right and wrong. It's amazing that he doesn't think like that this is right, this is wrong. He just accepts everything, whatever comes to him. And sometimes those things according to the larger cause or for the larger purpose, those things cannot be right also. It can affect him or it can affect the our society or things. So we have to make a decision. That's where I'll say people do take him granted. I have seen when people get to know this secret that, okay, and it's amazing if Baba is doing something, he's 100% focused there. And at that time, if you come and ask him, there is no decision because his focus is 100% there. So I'll say, I have not seen, he just takes things, accept, that's all. He doesn't repel or doesn't throw things back. He just always accept things and leave it to the divinity to get it settled. Understand? It's a huge thing. It's like you don't exist. Understand? Come to that point where you don't exist and everything else around you is just working naturally and with the nature, with the divinity. And that's amazing to watch. Means sometimes it amazes me how could it be possible that somebody's mind is so calm and so pure. So I have to sometimes wake him up. No, we can't do this. No, this is not correct. No, we can't go there. Or we can't accept this program. That program is not right. That person has some other intentions. So everything comes to him is just in his status. There is no duality left. So when there is no duality left, there is no point of making any decisions also. Isn't it? It's so amazing. It's just a play. It's just happening. Everything is happening, and he's just there, without making right, wrong judgments, and it's just so amazing. Even in the worst to worst situation, I've seen Baba is just accepting and leaving onto the divinity. Okay, whatever is best will happen. Let it go. Let it happen. So he doesn't bother about the results like a common person. Like, okay, I have to put this effort and wait for these results. It's not like that, and it's so amazing.
But Baba can accept any result. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because ultimately he's not getting affected by the results, isn't it? That's where duality in this world is. We get affected by the world when we live in the duality. When you don't exist, nothing exists. Also, no decision exists. Also.
As long as you need to have a thought, so that is the best thought to have, that you want to have self-realization. So that's important. So once you are on the terrace, you would have got rid of all thoughts. But till then you need to keep holding to that thought of ladder to go on to the terrace. So it is considered as a very good thing. Instead of having so many other thoughts to having properties and money, this and that, you are having and a desire for a wealth of self-awareness. So that is the best that you can afford to have in this world. Do it as a duty. Means some boss has asked you to do, and that's why you are doing. It can be as simple as like, instead of worrying for the results and should I be doing, not doing. Already certain thing has happened, means like already you are married, that you need to give something to your family. So give it and then forget about it. Mentally you don't have to keep holding on to that all the time. So just do that, finish. So just like this ashram has been built, and I don't have to carry this in my mind, because this is a trust and doesn't belongs to me. I cannot own, I cannot write this property to anybody. But whoever want to serve in the mission, they will be able to live. They will be able to have food also. Both ways it is possible. But they cannot own this as a property. But they can stay. So like that, depending remaining unattached. So you give a home also, no problem. Whatever the need is there that you think you can give, and then remain detached. It's okay. I have done my duty. My Lord, you asked me to do this, I have done this. Way you can learn the noblest thing, having come to this world, having come to this human body, the highest truth, sitting with a self-realized master, that is in the company of the Sat, in the company of the ultimate truth actually. You get a chance to sit like that one. That is what is Sat Sangha. So you always get to hear about that only. Yeah, I will never teach you to have alcohol or any other drugs or any such thing. So you get to learn from me only about the ultimate truth. No matter you go for a myth 100 times, I'll bring you back, that is not, that's only a myth, this is the truth. You go like this, then you can achieve. So that is the satsanga. It's like a tapas of your own, as Adi Shankara talks, equivalent to tapas when you learn satsanga. So if you sit with a bad master, he will teach all sorts of things and then wrong habits, everything, all things. So that is what dussanga, satsanga. Company of the noble, company of the learned, company of the self-realized, highest. That's why you will remember that we gave interview to the Buddha at gas pump. That person's concept was, your neighbor might be a self-realized soul and you may not know.
Yes, because you can't measure somebody's, you can't measure a mind.
Yeah.
You can't measure that your guru, what status your guru is. Ultimately, a jnani or a self-realized person, that self-realized person's realization or no realization is for that person. Ultimately, that person has achieved. What that person can do is to inspire to take the same path, follow the same path, and you also become what he has become. So it's taking along, So it becomes like a shepherd for so many people. He knows the way, you all follow. That's what Baba is doing sitting here. He knows the way. If you all follow, we'll reach somewhere.
Yeah, in the same way, ancient times sages would talk about their experience, whatever that has been recorded, today is available as an Upanishad. One day the future generations will get to read this, what they are recording and transcribing, and that's how things on YouTube is coming slowly. Many people, after seeing the YouTube videos only, are coming to our Zoom classes and they are able to meet me. Other than that, we don't do any big advertisements or any such thing, no claim, no boasting, nothing. Simply on listening to my simple answers, they get attracted and they come. My guru used to tell, Jesus also taught the same things, but unfortunately after his crucifixion, many of his teachings were burnt. Probably that may not be available. But luckily, today are better days. Like in a country like India, they don't bother much. Anybody can become a self-realized and teach the things. See, that can be recorded and it's available. So many material is available. So that people have to show interest and work out and make it coming as books. So many work in the team, from America to Australia to England to India, with Ambaji and the big team. They edit, they transcribe, they bring it as a book form also. Like the commentaries I have written on Ashtavakra Samhita, is what I learnt or what I experienced. I have tried to use the present day terminology so that people can easily understand. Otherwise, scriptural terminology is always Atman, Brahman, this, that. So instead, I have tried to use the mind, consciousness. This is what they mean actually. I am able to tell. So it's available. See, Sri Rama was born as a prince. He had certain responsibilities that needed to be taken care. But otherwise, by the time the discourse was over, Sri Rama had achieved Nirvikalpa Samadhi. His mind has become so quiet in those 7-8 days of listening to discourse itself, that truth was so beautiful, amazing, and Sri Rama was so ripe soul that was. Just by listening to Vasistha, he had achieved Nirvikalpa Samadhi and became a self-realized soul in those 7 days. Perhaps he wouldn't have got up and started working anywhere. Already by the Vairagya Prakarana in the beginning itself, he had stopped working. That's why Dasharatha tells, I am so much worried, he needs to be crowned as the crown prince. He doesn't talk to people, he doesn't smile, he doesn't do this. So then Vasistha talking to him. For that reason only Vasistha tells, all these stories were false. Don't bother, just get up and work, just be quiet in the mind. That was the purpose actually. Just you all have to achieve being quiet in the mind. You can adopt any way of life, is no problem. You can continue selling printers and you can do continuing any business, anything, but simply you have to keep your mind quiet. You see, this is a wrong notion some inexperienced people have tried to create actually. If you want to learn, you can learn from both. Timings were different. The situations they needed to deal with was totally different. When Sri Rama's time, there were much more nobility amongst humanity was there, except for one person or one king or any such thing. There was nobility. He had to deal with that situation only. So his wife was taken away and then he had to kill and he just came. It was just performing duty. How you are going to define what is your duty? And you see, in dharma, it is of threefold. One is you take care of the health of your physical body. This anybody can understand easily. Then using the physical body, you take care of your mental health, means control the mind, achieve self-realization. This also somewhat people can understand if we talk. But the third one is upholding moral values. This is the most difficult thing while you live in this world. What is right and what is wrong, what is your dharma? That's what Sri Krishna tried to teach in the highest possible way. One of the greatest gurus that this creation has given us. That's what I have always believed. Sri Krishna, his teachings people can be bewildered, but that is the right teaching. Means, example, all of you are educated, that listen and don't get carried away. I am not talking wrong. Sri Krishna taught, telling a lie itself is not important. The purpose is much more important. The purpose makes totally different. You are telling a lie for your selfishness. That is wrong thing, adharma. But you are telling a lie and you are able to save 10 lives. That is dharma. Just because of your personal glory you are telling a truth and you are harming 10 lives. That is adharma. That's what Sri Krishna tried to teach. He tried to dream, if the ruler is both righteous and powerful, then only the country can have peace and the subjects can have peace. If the ruler is powerful but not dharmatma, he himself will trouble the subjects. If he is dharmatma but not powerful, others will take over. Hawks, They won't allow him to do the right things. So that's how Sri Krishna tried to teach. You see, they tried to find all avenues to stop the war. But one person was adamant, I will not give even the edge of the needle of that much of land. He said, give at least 5 villages. They were ready to accept. I will assure you that Pandavas will accept and they will live peacefully. You live peacefully with your... But Duryodhana was not accepting. That is when the war had to happen. This is, if you observe in this world also, every other day you get to see the same story. Justice, injustice, people selfish. Why a clash happens? Why two countries fight? There was an article, no country has gone into a war without its personal interests. This was one statement that person had written in an article. So, and the war doesn't come to an end. So, we all read history during our high school days. After First World War, there was League of Nations. Then the Second World War happened. The League of Nations broke down, finished. It lost its value. Then people thought once the world will come to an end now. Hitler is gaining, like this is happening, that's happening. Then finally that also came to an end. United Nations Organization came. We used to hear from my mother and parents, everybody heaved a sigh of relief. No more wars. United Nations has come. They will not allow anybody to fight a war. That was also illusion. The very people who formed United Nations, they wanted wars to continue. That's why wars continue, conflicts continue. This is the human nature, you see. This is the most difficult thing to decide what is right, what is wrong. If two people start fighting, they both insist, I am right, I am right. It becomes difficult to establish who was right actually. A thing happened. So this is what Sri Krishna tried to teach. See always a larger cause. Try to see a larger cause and try to decide. Then there is always a solution to end the war, but if only people are ready to accept. If they don't accept it, see, the situation was like that. They were cousins who were fighting war actually. They both were related to Sri Krishna. But Sri Krishna knew what was right, who were righteous. But still he didn't want to take up weapons and fight a war. But he guided Pandavas quietly. He was acting diplomatically. Because if he had taken up weapons and fought, Kaurava's parents and so many others would have accused Krishna, you didn't come to my children's side, you went on to Pandava's side. So many accusations would have, in spite of all this, it was none of Sri Krishna's fault why the war happened. Simply one person, Duryodhana, and Duryodhana's father being a king allowed it to happen, and several others defined dharma for their personal glory. So these were the reasons the war happened. But Gandhari blamed Sri Krishna. If you wanted, you could have stopped the war. He told that throughout I had been telling, take care of your children when they were small. What their nature is not right. You take care of them, pull them up. This is wrong. They were doing injustice to Pandava. But now, when everybody is ready to wrench each other's neck and kill each other, nobody is going to listen philosophy there on the war field. Okay, how did you expect? Okay, Mother Gandhari, in spite of that, if you want to curse, if this is the niyati, let it happen. Sri Krishna accepted, as Ambaji was telling what a yogi, he accepts it finally, even though it's not our fault. If you tell it is our fault, it's okay. Krishna accepted that curse also because that was to happen, because this is another lesson. The Buddha at gas pump. Sri Krishna was such a great teacher, a self-realized soul, yogi was available, but all the Yadavas were not aware. In the end, they were fighting with each other, killing each other. They had become alcoholists, womanizers, because enormous wealth had come. And Balarama, Sri Krishna's brother, tells Krishna, you helped the Indian subcontinent so much, you helped Pandavas, why don't you help our own Yadavas? He tells this is their prarabdha. Prarabdha means they never considered me like a guru, never listened to me what I had to teach. They wanted wealth. Now wealth has come. This is what is happening. Balarama, let us go to meditation before our own bodies will be claimed by the death. This is the words of Sri Krishna in the end of his story, and he takes his brother and he goes to meditation. So such a beautiful life of Sri Krishna. If only people can understand. Many Indians even today misunderstand Krishna. They tell me that no, Sri Krishna was only a politician playing. He was not simply a politician, he was dealing with such
Ignorance. Pure ignorance.
Pure ignorance of those people. Sri Krishna had to deal with such wicked kings who were ruling around. They were setting a justice for themselves, justice for others, all these things were happening. See, in a simple way, this is a psychological push that Sri Krishna needed to give. Arjuna, such a great warrior and a mighty soul, had become so depressed on seeing his own guru, Dronacharya, his grandsire, Bhishma, cousins, everybody. He was thinking dharma in a different way. So after killing all these people, what is it that we are going to achieve? Oh, this war is not noble, this is not proper, I cannot fight with my grandsire, I cannot. But Sri Krishna had to teach him. They all have sided with adharma. Though they themselves may not be wicked, but they have sided that is good enough to kill them. You have to kill them, whether it is Bhishma. He respected Sri Bhishma also. Sri Krishna knew what a great personality Bhishma, but yet he did the mistake. At the time of disrobing of Draupadi, he also kept quiet. He should have stopped it, told, at least protested, this is wrong. Protecting this lady is my first dharma, my first priority of duty. Not towards the king, is afterwards. That he failed. That's one thing that Sri Krishna taught. Where you have to set a priority, where you have to take a sword, where you don't have to take a sword. For a soldier guarding our country's borders, taking the weapon becomes his dharma. If he doesn't take, he is doing wrong thing. That's what Sri Krishna tried to teach. It's a very tricky situation always. Many people have misunderstood. They talk misunderstood. No, this is not proper, this is not. So when we were trying to defend our ashram, Dehradun, many people criticize, Babaji, you are a yogi, why should you get involved into this? Because I am the in charge. If we take care of this ashram, if this is peaceful, all of you are able to come, stay here peacefully, do sadhana peacefully, listen to me peacefully. If some wicked people comes and claims that this is my portion, I am going to build my rooms here, and whatever is built, this is mine, what should we do? We had to take action. That became our dharma. So this world is very tricky always. People are always double standard, human beings. Human beings are the most unreliable people. When Ambaji met me 35 years ago, as a young man for me, this was my attitude. I told ki Ambaji, human beings, perhaps the most wretched creatures. Next time I would request God not to create human beings.